On January 17, 1971, the Baltimore Colts won Super Bowl V over the Dallas Cowboys. It was a sloppy affair, all things considered. It was a game where there were 14 total penalties and 11 turnovers. But Jim O'Brien's game-winning kick at the end of the game gave Baltimore their first ever Super Bowl and their first ever World Championship since 1959. And on January 18th, they were seriously trying to get the number 1 pick in the draft and get Jim Plunkett. This is the story behind how the Colts, as the defending champions, almost got Jim Plunkett on their team. There are 2 important pieces of context to take into account to look at why the Colts were interested in the Stanford quarterback coming off of a Heisman season. Number 1, the Colts had 2 first-round picks that year. They had pick number 26, which was their original pick for winning the Super Bowl. But they also had Miami's pick at number 22, which was awarded to them by Commissioner Pete Rozelle since the Dolphins tampered to get Don Shula to coach their team. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that at the end of the day, losing 1 first-round pick for nearly 3 decades of Don Shula and 5 Super Bowl appearances was a solid trade-off on Miami's end. So the Colts had some extra ammo to work with if they wanted to. And number 2, the Colts had a serious issue at quarterback. During that 1970 season, it seemed like the Colts won the Super Bowl in spite of their quarterback play. Earl, Morrall, and Johnny Unitas combined to go 10 for 21 with 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions in that game. Unitas at the age of 37 was showing some serious signs of decline. In 1967, Unitas was named a Pro Bowler and a first-team All-Pro when he led the league in completion percentage at 58.5% and had a passer rating of 83.6. From 1968 to 1970, though, Unitas threw 28 touchdowns and 42 interceptions, completing just 52.2% of his passes and posting a 62.3 passer rating. At that point in NFL history, the only quarterback who was truly good past the age of 37 was Charlie Connerly with the Giants, who in 1959 at the age of 38 led the league with a 102.7 passer rating. That was it. Unitas wasn't going to get any better. Unitas was coming back for another season, and Earl Morrall wanted to get traded since he would be the backup. He wanted to go somewhere where he could have a chance to play. Also keep in mind that even if Morrall was back on the Colts in 1971, which turned out to be the case in the end, he was going to be 37 years old. Like Unitas, he was also showing signs of decline due to his age. In 1968, Morrall was named the MVP of the league after throwing 26 touchdown passes and completing 57.4% of his passes, alongside a 93.2 passer rating. Over the next 2 seasons, though, Morrall completed just over 50% of his passes and had a 78.2 passer rating. The Colts had 2 aging quarterbacks on their roster who were on the decline, so it made sense that they were looking at some new blood. And so the Colts contacted the Patriots, who had the number 1 pick in the NFL draft on January 28th. Baltimore wanted Plunkett so badly, in fact, that they asked New England not to do anything with the pick until after the Super Bowl, so the 2 sides could hash out a deal. Baltimore was willing to give up both of their first-round picks in order to move up to the number 1 spot. While Colts general manager Don Klosterman said that no players were formally discussed, multiple reports indicate that the Patriots were offered tight end John Mackey and tackle Sam Ball in the trade. The trade offer at its peak seemed to be 2 first-round picks, future Hall of Fame tight end John Mackey, and former first-round tackle Sam Ball for the number 1 pick in the draft, which would be used on Jim Plunkett. However, the Patriots declined the offer. They stuck to their guns and used their first-round pick on the Stanford man. It's a good thing that the Patriots did not accept that trade, because John Mackey played just 2 more seasons in the NFL, never scoring another touchdown, and Sam Ball never played another game in the NFL. As for Baltimore, they went 50-50 on their first-round picks. The team took cornerback Leonard Dunlap with the 26th pick, and he only played 1 season with the team. However, with pick number 22, they chose halfback Don McCauley, who had a successful 11-year career with the team. Who knows how NFL history changes if Jim Plunkett is a member of the Colts? Does he still somewhat flame out to start his career, since he can sit behind one of the best to ever do it in Johnny Unitas for a year? What eventually happens with the Raiders, where Plunkett won 2 Super Bowls? The Colts eventually chose quarterback Burt Jones with the 2nd pick in the 1973 NFL Draft, and he wound up winning an MVP. What happens to his career? As things stand, Jim Plunkett played in the NFL until 1986, meaning that if everything stayed the same, there's no way the Colts would have taken John Elway in 1983 and subsequently traded him to Denver. How does that scenario hold up? Regardless, it's an interesting hypothetical to think about. From Johnny Unitas to Jim Plunkett. Could have been an interesting scenario, to say the least. Special thanks to all our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a Patreon in the description below.